BlogTalk Radio.
Hello and welcome to Angelspeakers Blog Talk Radio. Your host is Teri Miller, who is an author, psychic, medium, energy healer, and happiness coach who resides in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. On Teri's website, angelspeakers.com, you can read all about time, as well as her other services offered, and even book a session from there. The information discussed on Angel Speakers is intended for general information and entertainment purposes only. It is not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. The programs are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Individuals with health problems should always consult their healthcare provider for professional medical advice, medications, or treatments. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Angel Speakers. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Angel Speakers or the show hosts whose words and or opinions appear from or on this broadcast. To connect by phone, dial 929-477-1899. If you have called in and want to participate by being on the air with our hosts, press the 1 on your phone. We encourage participation from the chat room as well. Now, here's your host and founder of Angel Speakers, Teri Miller.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the show tonight. I am so glad to see all of you here. This is a different time for us on Tuesday night, so I'm really happy that you all found us and that you are listening on the phone lines, and thank you for all those raised hands over there. I love seeing that. For those of you who like to be in the chat room, unfortunately, Blog Talk is having some technical difficulties tonight, so we are without a chat room. So anyway, hopefully you will enjoy listening to the show, and if you want to, just call on in and raise your hand so you can talk to us. I want to share with you before I bring on my co-host for the evening that tomorrow night at 10:30 Eastern Time is Paul's Happiness Angels. It's our regular show on Wednesday nights, and we raise the vibration and send out pure positive energy over the airwaves. On Thursday night is Satya Kalra. She'll be on at 8 o'clock teaching us all about blissful living. And then Friday night at 6:30, Nicole Gunsinger will be with us. She's on once a month, and she channels the Ascended Masters. So I encourage you to join us for that show as well. So I'm so excited about the show tonight. I want to first introduce my co-host for Raise Your Vibes, and this is Karen Palmer. Karen is following her inner calling to help women, children, and animals end the suffering of abuse. She is a successful nonprofit business leader of Echo Angel Enterprises, self-worth and visibility coach, a game designer, animal and angel communicator, Kundalini yoga and mindfulness meditation instructor. She has been known as the modern-day mystical Mr. Rogers and Dr. Seuss. She combines ancient wisdom, technology, music, and modern science to help make our world a more loving place. She is also an angelic marketing and social media strategist who helps dreamers, visionaries, change agents, and peacemakers find their voice and share their message and gifts globally. She uses hashtags for higher consciousness, and she is the best-selling author of Global Kindness Going Viral. She is also co-founder of Global Peace United. She believes in being a voice for the voiceless and helps many other nonprofit organizations and animal rescue. I am so very happy to have my soul sister, my friend, this wonderful person that I co-create a lot of things with, and she is here right now with us. Thank you, Karen Palmer, for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Teri. I am just floating around. I'm so happy right now. I just feel like I'm on angel wings, and I am so grateful for this wonderful time that we're going to have together. And thank you, everyone who has made this a priority for them. I think you're going to be so thankful that you did come into this show live. I just finished having an incredible show with a wonderful man who is now our guest here today on Raise Your Vibes. And I'm just really excited.
I listened to the whole show, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was
I've
wonderful.
already had a bunch of people contact me from that show that have said, I have been getting messages too, and can I work somehow? Can we collaborate? And that's, my middle name is collaboration and co-creation.
Yes.
So I was very excited about that. But let me just share a little bit about this amazing guest that we have, you guys. We are so blessed right now. Gerry Gavin is of the new Hay House book, If You Could Talk to an Angel, as well as his first book, which I feel every person on the planet should read, is Messages from Margaret. He is a speaker and life coach, medium, and the host of a very popular weekly radio show on hayhouseradio.com, which has a loyal international following. Gerry is the creator of the very successful Angels and Shamans workshop, which puts participants in direct connection with their angels and guides. So Gerry channels the angel Margaret, who conveys life-changing, down-to-earth, angelic advice. At public appearances and on radio programs, he also does private readings. He also specializes in shamanic healing practices that help individuals to reclaim their power, health, and even lost pieces of their soul through a process called soul retrieval. His work is a combination of modern therapeutic techniques and ancient healing practices that listen to the body, mind, and spirit to help clients reach their fullest potential. And Gerry lives on a small horse farm in New Jersey, and you guys can find him at gerrygavin.com. So very excited to have you here on Raise Your Vibe Radio. Gerry, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we have such a beautiful family here. And this is Teri,
Hi, Teri.
who is the wonderful founder of Angelspeakers.com. And this is her beautiful radio creation that she has brought for all of us to be able to shine our light in a bigger way. So, Teri, I know you and Gerry will totally hit it off. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm so excited, yes.
Well,
so excited to
thank
meet
you very
Gerry.
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I thank you so much for having me on the show tonight.
And we are here for Global Peace Week. So Global Peace Week is continuing, and beautiful Teri is a partner in peace, and Gerry is a partner in peace with Hay House Radio. And we are growing our beautiful Global United Peace Tree. And I'm very excited. We have so much going on there, so you guys please check out globalpeace.earth for the full schedule. And if you want to get in and be part of the in-crowd, part of the inner circle, go to globalkindnesstv.org/week, and you will get all the updates on all the exciting news, because I've got so much more to share after this week. But, Gerry, I want to ask you, I love that you are an empowerment specialist.
Mm-hmm.
That felt so resonant with me, so good. It feels so good. It feels so yummy and juicy, and I just would love for you to explain to our listeners exactly what that is exactly, and maybe just give us a little indication of how that works for you in your day-to-day life.
So, well, thank you for the question, first of all. That's actually a really cool question, and I don't know that I've ever been asked it in that way, so I appreciate that. So everything we are, everything at the very core of the being that we are, is all made up of energy. And we are first and foremost, and one of the things that Margaret discusses all the time is that the first and foremost thing we are is a soul. We are this incredible, grand, phenomenal energy that is bigger than anything we could ever possibly imagine, and we just basically invest small pieces of that energy in what we know as these particular incarnations. So that energy that's being invested, that part of what we are, is just that. It is energy, and energy is power. Energy is our life source power, our personal power, everything that is a part of the core that makes up this individual human being that is Teri, or that is Karen, or that is everybody else who is listening to the program. And from time to time, in our experiences as we go through this lifetime, we lose power, or we get confused about our power. We want so much to be loved so that we wind up kind of converting our power into something else or someone else who we think we need to be in order for other people to love us and to accept us. So all of that becomes a part of us kind of losing who we are. And the other part of it is that, in terms of our bodies, I talk about that communication and empowerment is kind of a two-sided coin, because we need so much to learn and to understand how to communicate with our bodies and understand what our bodies are trying to tell us, and understand what our minds are trying to tell us, and what our spirit is trying to tell us. And when we learn how to do that, when we learn how to hear those things, when we learn how to tap into our intuition, when we learn how to listen and feel a better connection with our angels, and then we're listening more internally with what our brain is trying to communicate with us and our body is trying to communicate with us, then we're able to actually become more empowered, really to know more about who we really are and what we really came here to do and accomplish. And really the biggest thing we came here to do and accomplish is to live a life of joy, to experience as many experiences as we can, and to convert those experiences into deeply joyful, just wonderful opportunities to see life in that way that is love, to just love. And so that's what I do. I help people to find that place, whether it's through channeling Margaret or shamanic work that I do, or through the Soul-Based Business Program. It's a way of rediscovering you so that you can be present and here in that greatest expression of yourself that you can possibly be, and be fully empowered in that place.
Wow, that is wonderful. And I'm fascinated because I've been a follower of yours for many years, and I love your books, and I love all that you're doing in the world. I'm so grateful for you. You are a big part of why I felt comfortable and safe to channel the channeling that started coming through me. But I want to ask you a little bit about your story and how it began for you. How did it start for you that you began channeling? I know you said that it's been over 20 years now, right?
Yeah, actually over 25 years. It
Wow.
began actually in the early 90s. I think I first started channeling Margaret around 1992, if I'm not mistaken. And it was not unlike the way a lot of people begin their experiences, and that is that it kind of has nothing to do with what you think is going to happen. I was in the midst of very, very painful divorce at the time, and we had 2 daughters who were involved in a lot of really, really wonderful things, and I didn't want them to have to stop doing any of those things that they were doing, because they were involved in everything. They were involved in gymnastics, and my other daughter had drum lessons and you know, other really cool things that they were doing. I think they were taking like every kind of lesson out there. So I was trying to figure out a way to be able to have my own place to live, but at the same time not change anything that was going on in their lifestyle. And the easiest way to do that was actually to rent a room as opposed to trying to get an apartment. And a friend that I had met, just so happened, as coincidence would be, was recently had broken up with her fiancé, and right before breaking up with her fiancé, she had purchased a house. So, you know, she had been anticipating having this second income coming in. So the conversation was just so fortuitous that I mentioned to her that I was really thinking about trying to rent a room rather than getting an apartment. And she was like, no kidding, I'm looking for someone to rent a room. And that became, you know, just kind of serendipity. So I rented a room in this brand new house that she had purchased, and it probably was it took a couple of months to notice it, but both she and I started to realize that this house was just incredibly haunted. And neither of us had ever experienced anything like that before. You know, if anything, I would say I was kind of a card-carrying skeptic at that point. I had no supernatural occurrences. I had never really had anything like that occur in my life. And this was like, it truly was like the kind of stuff you see in movies. I mean, this was voices that you would hear in the middle of the night, you know, visual apparitions, a mist that would descend the stairs from upstairs to downstairs, drastic changes in temperature from one room to another. I mean drastic, where one room would actually be like 20 degrees less than the room right next to it. It was pretty incredible. And then we started noticing that things were moving around on their own, particularly jewelry and other things. So we it was kind of funny because it took us quite a while to actually have a conversation about it, because both of us kind of thought we were going nuts and didn't want to say anything to the other one about it. And then finally did, and that precipitated our trying to figure out what to do about clearing the house of this energy. And, you know, this is back in 1990, so there certainly were no television shows that were out there about ghost hunters or anything like that. Pretty much my only point of reference for anything that had to do with a spirit being in the house was The Exorcist. So I did what
scary.
Right, I know. So I did what any self-respecting person would do at that point, and I went to go talk to a priest and ask, what do we do, you know? So I went to our local parish priest, Gail, my roommate at the time, and she and I actually, years and years later, through all types of changes in our lives, wound up coming back together, and we're actually together as a couple right now. But Gail and I went to our local parish church, and we talked to a priest who did come to the house. It was really kind of funny because his initial solution was to say, it probably is because you guys don't go to church as frequently anymore, and maybe if you start doing that, it will change the energy. So we agreed to do that if he would come to the house and do something to help us. So he did come to the house to do a blessing and stood downstairs on our foyer and sprinkled some holy water around and said some prayers. Would not go upstairs. He said that it would be okay, that the holy water would spread and that everything would be fine. And we wound up actually, after that, it seemed as though the energy was even more angry and aggravated by having done that. And we didn't really know what to do. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And finally, I confided in a friend of mine, just a lifelong friend who had been my friend since we were, you know, little kids. And it's an interesting thing because my friend immediately said to me, you know, Gerry, I have this therapist that I'm going to right now, and I really think you should talk to her. And I know he had been in therapy like most of his life. And I said, I appreciate it. I know I sound crazy, but I'm really not. This stuff is really happening. And he was like, no, I don't think you're crazy at all. It's just that my therapist also happens to be an incredibly gifted psychic. And as a matter of fact, I'm like breezing through therapy because every time I try not to talk about something, she's like, well, what about this and what about that and who's this person and who's that person? So you should talk to her and maybe she could help you, which I did. And she began, before I even had a chance to tell her about what was going on, the conversation started with her asking me what's going on in this house. And I explained it. And she began to channel, which was the first time I had heard that word. Little did I know I would hear it a whole lot more. She began to channel what was basically a ceremony to help to remove this energy from the house and basically to send it into the light so that it wouldn't be trapped any longer. And we did this. We wound up doing this ceremony on 3 different occasions. A lot of very unusual things that happened every time we did it. I mean, we had our house alarm go off the first time we did it on 4 different occasions. And each time we did more and more to try to prevent that from happening. We turned off the alarm itself. It still went off. We turned off the circuit breaker to the alarm. It still went off. We turned off the entire house power. It still went off. So we took batteries out of it. We did everything. It was just an electrical distraction to try to stop us from doing what we were doing. But that occurrence happened, and then the final day that we did this particular ceremony, it was just incredible. It was really like a movie. I mean, doors opening and closing on their own, drawers opening and closing, banging in the walls. Things it was really frightening. It was like nothing you would imagine. And one of the things that this woman was very clear about was she said, it's really important, Gerry, you get a compass and you make sure that you are standing at the northern end of every room that you are in when you do this. It's make sure you're standing there. And I agreed, and I did that. And when we finished with this last time of clearing the house energy, everyone felt great with the exception of me. I just felt like I had been run over by a truck. And in the course of the remaining 2 weeks after that we did that, I was like burning out pagers. By the way, this was pre-cell phone, so I had a pager. I was burning out pagers. I was burning out car batteries. If there was something electronic that I was touching, it was just my one battery that when the car batteries, I went through 3 car batteries in that 2 weeks, which luckily they were under warranty because each time I would buy one, I had to go back. And the last one, the guy said it just seemed like the battery had like imploded. But there was that much energy, and I called her to find out why. Why was I the only one who seemed to have this situation happen? And she asked me again, did I stand on the northern end, which I said I did. And she said, well, that's good because all the energy that was leaving left through you, and that's why you're feeling all this. And I was like, well, thank you for telling me now. That would have been really nice to tell me beforehand. But she explained, and she was absolutely right, that had she told me beforehand, I would have been a nervous wreck about it. I would have, I wouldn't have wanted to do it. And it's really funny because right before we went into doing the last time, the one that made me feel like I was hit by a truck, that day, Gail asked me before we got started, she brought me, those, when you buy batteries like the AAA batteries and they come in a blister pack and there's a whole bunch of them in a package, she gave one of those packages to me and she asked me to put it in my pocket. No idea why she was asking me to do that. Just, do me a favor, just do this. I've got no clue why I'm asking, but just do it. And when we had finished that particular session and I went to take them out of my pocket, they were completely melted in the blister pack. There just was like nothing left of the batteries. So what she said to me is, look, it'll take a couple of weeks, but the energy is going to wear off, which it did. But what happened after that point is I was just wide open to all kinds of energy. I was seeing things and hearing things and experiencing things, and I was not a happy camper. This was not what I had signed up for. I never wanted to have this kind of stuff happen. I wasn't happy with the fact that this kind of stuff was happening, and I was fighting it at every corner because I just didn't know what to do with it, and it was, you know, it was very scary to just be driving in your car and all of a sudden you would see somebody in front of you that wasn't there, you know? And so coincidentally at the same time, although I know there's no such thing as coincidence, but coincidentally at this time, Gail made the decision that she wanted to change careers, and she was looking to go into massage, so going to massage school. And it sounded like a great idea to me at the time, too, again, just for practical reasons. I was not at all moving into that spiritual healing aspect of it. It was just, wow, you can make $60 an hour? That sounds amazing, you know? I could leave 2 other part-time jobs and be able to do this. And that began to take us in a very, very different direction, because in this school that she really wanted to go to, the woman who taught the school was a very gifted massage therapist. She had gone to the Swedish Institute. She also just happened to have been trained by Latin American shamans and was aware of a lot of different energetic things. And whenever she would bring some of those things to class, just little things to help people to expand their energy, everybody else in my class would have these really pleasant, sweet experiences, and I would have these full-blown shamanic experiences. Like if we did an exercise that was, you know, doing a ritual trance posture to do a pose that was like the bear, and, you know, to enjoy the bear energy, everyone else would have these really nice experiences. I would be the one that turned into the bear, you know, and for the next hour I would be totally feeling like I was a bear and this roaring. So I guess it was maybe halfway into this course and me still fighting everything tooth and nail that my teacher took me aside one day and just said, why are you fighting this? You know, it's clear there's something going on here, you know, and it would probably be so much easier for you if you would just lean into it and let yourself feel it and allow yourself to go with the experience and learn about it and what's trying to happen, which is what I wound up doing. And then I was kind of hooked at that point, and I started learning more and more about shamanism and studying with her and studying with her teachers, and that's what led me into doing all the shamanic work, you know, the power retrieval and soul retrieval and shamanic journeying. And it was nothing that had to do with angels during that time. I was kind of surprised because you're at that point where you're communicating with spirit guides and power animals, but nothing angelic. The angelic part came probably 2 to 3 years later when I actually was at just a low point in my life. And I sat on my bed one night, and I just felt like I needed some kind of guidance, which was like no other guidance I'd ever gotten. And I just said out loud, listen, Angel, I know you're out there, and I know you can hear me, and I know if you would just give me your name, I will figure some way to talk to you. All I need is your name. Just tell me your name. I know I'll figure it out. I closed my eyes, and it was like there was this white movie screen I was looking at, big, bold, black letters, the name Margaret spelled itself out. And I remember opening my eyes and thinking, Margaret? What kind of an angel name is Margaret? That can't be right. That just can't be right. Come on, let me try this again, you know? So I closed my eyes again, and now it's like a black background with big white letters, Margaret, you know? And I'm like, can we just stop with the Margaret? Come on, I'm trying to get my angel's name. You know? And now the name just starts coming up in every possible thought you can think of over and over and over and over and over. Now I open my eyes, and that's all I can see in front of me is the name. So at that point, you know, as Gail likes to joke around, you don't have to hit me with a 2x4 more than 40 or 50 times. I'll get it. so I got it. And what came at that point was this thought to do this thing I had never done, which was something I had heard about called automatic writing, and I decided to try it. So I wrote a letter to her that was, at that time, with everything that was going on in my life, I got to say, in all honesty, that letter was filled with a lot of venom. There was a lot of hurt feelings and ways that I just felt so put upon by so many people in my life and so misunderstood. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm writing it, Gerry, this could be the dumbest thing you've ever done in your life, because you're writing the letter, you're going to write the letter back. What are the chances that you're going to get anything that's profound here? But much to my amazement, when I started the letter back, the first thing that my hand started to move, and the first words I wrote were, "Hello, dear one, and welcome." And that has been, I still get chills when I tell this part of the story. That has been her way of saying hello now ever since that time to me or to whomever we're speaking to. And then what flowed from there was the most beautiful, gentle, understanding, compassionate, incredibly insightful piece of information I've ever gotten, that somehow was managing to tell me that I was responsible for everything that was going on, but wasn't making me in any way defensive. The insights about how other people were responding to certain things that I had said and I had done, and in turn different things that were happening in their lives, and how I could look at this in this very loving, compassionate way. So I turned around and I reached out to those people just to see, that kind of like scientific part of you, like, yeah, well, let's see if any of this is right, So I asked, several people that we're talking about here, hey, by any chance, could you be feeling this, One by one, it was exactly the things that she said, And the funny part is, here all of them are kind of giving me like giant props for being so insightful, and I can't even say anything about that, because what am I going to say? Well, actually, I have this new pen pal, and she's an angel, and she just thought, that this is what was going on. So that started me writing to Margaret. It started me speaking to her on a regular basis, and that stayed that way, with just me asking her questions in this letter writing capacity for a very, very long time. And then eventually, the same friend actually that introduced me to the psychic psychotherapist, I confided as to what this was happening. And by that time, he had finished psychotherapy, but he was a huge fan of psychics. And so he put me in touch with some people who, he said, they have done this for a long time. They'll really help you know what to do with this, so you know how to expand it. And the funny part was, when I went there, thinking that I was going to get a reading and they were going to really help me get a direction, all three of the people he was introducing me to had questions for Margaret. They wanted to know answers from Margaret. And I'm like, no, I am not the psychic. You guys are the psychics. I'm here for you to help. But what was beautiful about the experience is Margaret had wonderful answers for all of them. And that started this process, because they then started to refer people, and that began to grow this aspect of helping other people. And for years, that was how it worked. It was always done through letters. Someone would ask me questions. I would write a letter to Margaret, and then I would write a letter back. It started longhand. Eventually, then it moved to a laptop where at least I could do spell check and things so people could actually read what I was writing. But I didn't totally come out of the spiritual closet with this until it was like 2010. And that was the point Margaret asked me if I would write a book that would help her to get these messages out to the world. And I agreed to do it. I was working as a publisher of a newspaper group in New York City at the time, and very nervous about that, because I was concerned wow, if this is a book and actually people wind up reading it, what are my bosses going to say? You know, like, we've entrusted this newspaper group to a guy who talks to angels. We're a little concerned. So I was very nervous about it, and it was kind of a huge leap of faith. Except maybe, I guess, you know, I don't know, Teri and Karen, if maybe there was this part of me that kind of thought, it's not going to go anywhere anyway. You know, so probably it'll be okay. And I self-published the book, and then in a series of the most unusual circumstances, I met some people who invited me on a program on BlogTalk Radio, Ariel and Shia Kane, who do a wonderful program about being in the moment. And I did that program, which we barely talked about the book because it's about being in the moment. And so it was more about responding to callers and how do I think Margaret would respond to this or that. And I had a very hard time doing that show because at that point I was still always writing Margaret stuff, you know. So it was hard for me to respond quickly to it, but I tried my best. And it just turns out that there was a woman who was listening to that program who turned out to sell the international rights for Hay House. She was in London and happened upon the program and heard it and wound up getting the book, which was a Balboa Press book. So she had a really easy time getting it because that's a division of Hay House, and she loved it. Reached right out to Reed Tracy, the head of Hay House, and said, I really want you to read this book because I think this book will do well in Europe if you want to pick it up for Hay House. And next thing, I'm getting a message on my BlackBerry from Reed Tracy saying Hay House would really like to take over publication of Messages from Margaret. And it took me a good probably 12, 14 hours of trying to figure out who hacked my BlackBerry before I believed that it was a legitimate message. And everything is sort of flowed from there. And what's so funny, and Karen, it was so great having you do the show today. The radio show I do now is going into its 4th year. And how that radio show came to be is I was about to be interviewed when the book was first coming out, Messages from Margaret. I was about to be interviewed by Diane Ray on her program because it was about a new Balboa Press book that was getting picked up by Hay House. And I was excited about the interview, and I just happened to be having a conversation with Reed Tracy. I don't even remember what it was about. I guess it was just about marketing things in general. And we were talking about radio shows that I did, and he asked, what do I do? And I told him about talking about Margaret and talking about this and talking about that. And Reed said, well, what about Margaret? I said, well, as I told you, I talk about her. And he goes, yeah, but when does she get a chance to talk? And I said, I don't do that. I do these letters things, and I don't really give her a voice in that sense. I mean, I read what I'm writing, but that's kind of not how I do it. And Reed asked me this great question. He just stopped for a moment. He goes, why? And I said, that's just how I do it. He goes, yeah, but why? If you're getting the message and you're typing the message there and you're kind of reading the message as you're getting it, why don't you just cut out the middleman and just let her talk to you?
Exactly.
And I thought that to myself. It was so true, right? And I said, you know what, Reed? I'll try that. I'm going to totally take it under advisement, and I will try it, and I'm going to definitely try to do that. And he goes, great. Let's try it on Diane's radio show today. I'll give her a call and tell her you're going to do it. I was like, Reed, that's 40 minutes from now. And he goes, it's going to be great. Go ahead, And that was the first time I ever channeled Margaret live in that way. And the only thing that made me feel better was at that time Diane said, we really aren't a call-in show, so nobody's probably going to call in. And then on the break, because there used to be a break, she called, got back on the line to say, I don't know how to tell you this, but the lines are full. And that was that kind of baptism by fire that wound up leading to it becoming its own radio show. The response to it was just so strong. So that's the story. It's just been an amazing journey, and much like Karen, much like you were saying when you were on the air today, you just kind of never know where things are going to lead you, how those miracles are going to happen, and how everything's going to transpire.
So beautiful. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Well, we do have a lot of people who have their hands up, right, Teri? And we would really love to get a message from Margaret, especially about what you feel Margaret would like to share with us about the peace movement that we have, and maybe just peace for our world. We would love if you could bring her on.
I would love to. I would be very, very honored to. So give me just a moment. I'm just going to take a sip of water and get a little bit centered, and I will bring her right through. And I would be happy to speak in general or just to take individual questions, however you want to do it. So just give me 1 second. Hello, dear ones, and welcome. It is so good to have this opportunity to speak to you. Teri, Karen, it is so good to speak to you, and I thank you so much for having us here tonight. So what might I answer for you?
I'll let Teri start.
Oh, Margaret, I'm so honored to be here, and I have chills. I'm just so excited to have you here. I really am a proponent of world peace. I want this more than anything, and I want to see it in my lifetime, and I am doing everything I can to help with that movement. So I just want to know if you have any words for me, any words at all.
Well, first of all, the first two words I would like to start with are thank you for all of the work that you have done, and I extend that thank you to you as well, Karen, because when there is a focus on peace, when there is the opportunity to have people who are trying to keep those things as top of mind, it is something that really, really helps them to create a momentum, you know? And momentum is such an important thing. I don't know, Teri or Karen, if you have ever heard me speak about this, and if you don't mind, there may be people who have not, but I wanted to just talk about that for a moment, because I know sometimes what becomes so frustrating, Teri, is that when people are working towards peace, or as I would prefer in some way of saying it, loving towards peace, what winds up happening is that as you're doing that, every once in a while there is this frustration that takes place when it appears as though everything that you have been working towards is actually hitting a block, and now other things are occurring which seem to be the exact opposite of that thing. So you feel as though you've created this wonderful momentum, and things start to move in a really positive direction, and then it seems as though there is a swing in the other direction in the pendulum, if you will, and other things occur, and you feel then like you are building up that momentum again. And there's an interesting thing that might be a little bit of a difficult concept that I want to share with everyone today, especially when you are looking in that situation of peace. One of the things that is so important, if you want to be able to truly, truly love and to truly move love forward in this existence that you are in right now, in this incarnation as an earth being at this point in time in the space continuum, what winds up happening is that when there is resistance to those things that you are trying to do to express your love, it's crucial to love the resistance. And that is something that sometimes is so hard to understand, but let me try to explain it in a different way, because you are all energetic beings, which means that as energetic beings, everything that exists in this world is energy, which means everything in this world is affected by what you would refer to as the rules of physics or metaphysics. In the world of physics and in the world of metaphysics, there is something that is very true, and that is this. And I want to use a very simple explanation to make it so clear to understand. Imagine for a moment that you are riding in a car, and you roll down the windows to the car, and you put your hand out the window. When you are driving along in that car at 5 miles an hour, you may feel a slight breeze touching your hand, just a little bit of a breeze, not too much going on whatsoever. But as you begin to increase your speed and now you get your car up to 60 miles an hour, you're going to feel a pretty significant breeze on your hand. And now it's beginning to move the skin on your hand just a little bit, and maybe you're starting to feel your hand even blown back a bit. As you increase your speed to 100 miles an hour, now your hand is actually being pushed backwards by that wind that is being created by your movement forward in that vehicle. What that is illustrating is this. Whenever there is momentum, the greater the level of momentum, the greater the level of resistance that momentum creates. Now, if you are a human being who is in that car that is going along at 60 miles an hour or 70 miles an hour, and you stick your head out the window and you feel that breeze hitting you quite forcefully, you probably will bring your head back in. Maybe you'll even roll up the window. When you are a dog, you will keep your head out that window the entire time because you love the resistance. You love that feeling of the wind hitting you in the face because to a dog's mind, that wind hitting them in the face makes them think of this, that they are running at that speed, that there is this beautiful, they embrace that momentum and they embrace that resistance because they feel it as something totally different. Every experience that they're feeling, they're taking in that other energy and seeing it as something so interesting, you know, as though they're imagining themselves running at that breakneck speed that would allow them to feel that wind on them. That is what I mean by loving the resistance. So whenever you encounter resistance, the thing that is much like, do you remember, Karen, when you were reading Napoleon Hill, one of the wonderful things that Napoleon Hill spoke about was what he called the seed of equivalent benefit.
Yes.
And Napoleon Hill would always say that if you are hitting resistance, if you search for the seed of equivalent benefit, then you will realize how to get around the resistance. If you love the resistance, if you look at the resistance and you say to yourself, the resistance means that we are gaining momentum. Because if we weren't gaining momentum, we wouldn't be gaining additional resistance. When one is moving forward in positive, loving thought and you find yourself hitting a backlash of thought that is the opposite of that seems as though it is now kind of crumbling in those things that you have tried to grow, that is all the more time to love those people who are creating that thought because you say to yourself, good, that means we're doing something here. We definitely are gaining ground. If we were not gaining ground, we wouldn't feel this opposite energy in such a panicked state. That means we have to hold our course. We have to keep loving. And when you're doing that and you love the resistance, now the resistance becomes a part of the energy of the love. And that, dear one, is what helps us then to bring world peace. Because as long as you see the resistance as resistance, then you as well as everyone else is seeing the separation. Right. As soon as you think of someone as not being on your side or not supporting peace or wanting war, and therefore they are different from you, then they are. They are immediately different from you.
Wow.
So that
makes so much sense. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And that's part, Karen, why you and also why you, Teri, and why so many of you out there who are listening to this, that's why you love dogs and cats and other animals so much, because they embrace the resistance all the time.
Yeah, they do.
Embrace it, you know? When you first start to train a dog, they will practically pull their heads off trying to run and trying to do things. It takes them a little while to get used to that concept of having this leash on them and feeling as though it is not their job to help to teach you how to run as fast as them. That's really what they're trying to do in the beginning.
I always encourage people to start their puppies at 4 months if they want to do real good training. Right.
So they have that time to have a little bit of time to enjoy that aspect of just running and being a little crazy. Yeah. And then in 4 months they have that ability that they can start learning, and then they want to do things with you anyway, and they start to come to the understanding like, he's not really going to run like me, so I might as well hang out by his side. So they'll go along with you, and they'll try to help be a part of that. But that's the biggest thing. If I can just share that message, and if everyone could start to just take that in a little bit, that whether it is within your personal lives, whether it is within the situation of things that you're going through at other points in time, when you're encountering resistance of any sort, embrace it. Look at it and say, this resistance is coming for one of two reasons. One, it's either showing me my momentum, that I know I'm moving in the right direction, or two, it's showing me that I haven't yet really understood the concept of oneness. And I have to let myself love a little more. I've got to take that love a little bit further. And I think when that occurs, that's when you start to realize that this is the point when you are truly loving your enemies, even though you may not have identified them as enemies. And sometimes this is even harder, dear ones, for people who are well-meaning individuals than it is for someone who's not thinking in that regard. Because if you're coming from a place of love and you're trying to love, it becomes even harder when you have to realize, oh, man, I guess I really wasn't loving. Oh, darn. I thought I had that. Oh, I hate when that happens, right?
You should have had a V8.
Exactly. I could have had a V8. So that becomes your goal then becomes just to, first of all, not to be judgmental of yourself any more than you would be judgmental of somebody else, but then to laugh at that. And that's the other thing I would urge everyone to do, is just laugh more. When you find that you're moving along in an area and you're trying to accomplish something and you don't accomplish it, laugh at it. This is one of the reasons we love, I know I love, and I know other angels do as well, we love comedians, because comedians give you the opportunity to look at your life and all of those little things in your life that upset you, and they make you laugh at those things that upset you. And that's such a wonderful thing, because then you have that opportunity. But you can do that too. Like when you're getting into that situation of, sometimes you have these arguments in your head about the things you wished you said to somebody, or the things that, you were planning on saying, and those are wonderful times to laugh at yourself, because you're actually investing energy into something that didn't happen and never will happen, but you're spending that time creating that situation, or frustrations over whoever might have been elected, or whoever might have been appointed into power, or whoever might have done those things. And the truth of the matter is there's billions and billions and billions of people on this planet who are all putting energy out there. It matters a hill of beans who that person is who thinks that they are in charge. There is so much more energy happening that you all have such power to create love in different directions. And you do it every day. Every single person on this planet loves in their own particular way something. It may be a dog. It may be a cat. It may be members of your family. It may be a person that you're in a relationship with. It may be a type of work that you are doing. It might be a sport that you play. There's something that you love. So every day those people on this planet are generating the energy of love, and that energy is permeating the planet. It is just that your brains, because your brains are programmed for keeping this body surviving, focus on only those things that are intricate to human survival. So you're not really focusing on the love that's all around you. You're focusing on the dangers to this physicality. And that's the part, if you can just tweak that thinking a little bit each day, it can be so helpful. There's an affirmation that I suggest that people say every day. And affirmations are a different concept. It is more about the questions you ask your brain rather than the statements you are making. Because when you question your brain, it makes your brain have to think about what you're asking it. And it has to find an answer. Your brain always has to find an answer when you pose a question. That's why you have become what you are today, because someone asks a question that allows you to create the things you create. So the question you ask yourself every morning then is, why is it so easy for today to be the most wonderful day of my life? And now your brain has to think about that. And it has to say, I don't really have anything to fight with that. It's, why is it so easy for today to be the most, well, it could be because there's this you did that was a successful experience, and that you did that's a successful experience. So it could become the most wonderful day of your life. And now you begin to energize yourself towards that experience. So if you ask yourself that question every morning as you arise, each day now your brain is looking for proof that it could potentially be the most wonderful day of your life. And it really makes a difference.
I'm going to add that to my morning routine.
Me too. Me too.
It
Absolutely.
is so powerful. If you make that the first question you ask when you wake up, put it up on your wall, on your mirror, whatever it might be. It's the first question you say when you wake up. Why is it so easy? And everyone understands the word easy. Your brain understands the word easy. It wants life to be easy. It doesn't like hard. It wants easy.
That's for sure.
Why is it so easy for today to be the most wonderful day of my life? And the beautiful part is it doesn't matter if you say it every day. You wouldn't be upset if today was better than yesterday. It doesn't matter if you say that. Your desire is to do that. Your desire is to expand and always feel wonderful and incredible.
And then the universe will give us evidence of that, right?
The universe will bring you what you are believing in and creating, because you are creating that. You are creating that energy. You're kind of going out to the grid work that angels are helping to create and bringing that back.
Beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Are there other things I might be able to answer for you?
I would like if you could answer, just for our listeners and for everyone who's listening right now and listening on the replay, what would you suggest for people who think that they have channeling gifts?
Well, first of all, everyone does. Everyone does. So when you're talking about channeling, what we're really speaking about, dear one, is this. In your structure of your brain, you have this amazing capability. Your brain, although science might say at this point in time, you're only utilizing 10% of it or so, you're not. The rest of your brain is so intricately connected with your consciousness, which is that piece of your soul that is your life force energy, and also connected with your higher self, which is why when you go to bed at night, you are actually backing up everything that is your cellular memory in your body. You back it up to your higher self every night. That's how you have come up with the concept of the cloud. It's how you have come up with the concept of backing up your phone or backing up your computer, because it's what you already do. And so that element of being able to create your life and to make things happen is so within the realm of your brain to do. So as you are putting those thoughts into your mind, what you're essentially doing is you're starting with them at one point of your mind, and then you're allowing them to go into that other section that is interacting with your higher self and interacting with angelic energy and being able to bring all of this forward. Now, because of the fact that that part of your brain is always connected with your consciousness and your higher self, that is how you develop what you refer to as your psychic abilities or your channeling abilities. When Gerry is channeling right now, what essentially is happening is that part of his brain that he is allowing to open up is connecting with his higher self, who is connecting with my energy, because I was intricately involved in the creation of his higher self. So we are one energy. We are one energy flow. We are one in our direct communication. Now, at that same rate, if Gerry were to choose to speak to his higher self and through his higher self to connect with other higher selves who retain every memory of every incarnation and can communicate as though they are communicating from that consciousness of that incarnation, because they retain everything from it. When your energy goes back to your higher self, that story, that incarnation is entirely retained. So that entire being, that entire energy is there and able to communicate as that energy. While at the same time it has invested, I know I'm getting into a lot of stuff that's really complicated. It is
no,
so
you're making it
amazing.
really simple. It's really simple. I like the way that you're explaining it.
So it really is very simple. It's just a little complex at the same time. But it is so capable for you to do that. The thing that keeps people, and everyone, by the way, has hits of intuition. You have openings where you see things and think things and feel things, and everyone goes through it. The problem is your sense of self-belief and your sense of trusting your gut feelings or trusting your intuition. It's very hard sometimes to trust your intuition when people talk you out of trusting your own thoughts on a regular basis of anything. You know,
right.
Everyone kind of wants to have their own way, so, you know, people get talked out of what they like to eat, they get talked out of what they like to wear, they get talked out of all kinds of things because someone else that they think is a little more expert, you know, has an opinion that's different from theirs. And then, of course, when you get into the situation then of religions and belief systems like that, then you have a whole hierarchy that says these are the people who are allowed to communicate with the spirit world, and if you do it, you're going to speak to the wrong people. You're going to get demons. You're going to get different kinds of things. So you don't want to do it. Let them do it. You know, let them be the ones who do it. Or else, as you spoke about today on Gerry's program, Karen, you know, Wayne or other members of the collective will desire to let people know that everyone has this ability to be so much more than they are. Or I don't want to say that. That actually sounded negative. Not that you are more than you are, because what you are is amazing. You have untapped potential, I guess is the better way I would wish to say it. You have so much untapped potential because you think that someone else, as you said so well, is a celebrity, is a special person, is so different from you, and their skills are so different from you that you could never do that. And in this one sense, it is not true. It is possibly very true that you may never be a basketball player if you are 4'3". That is true. But you can try your hardest, and you can play as well as you might possibly play. It may be that you will never be a professional basketball player, but you can still be a basketball player, and you can love basketball with every inch of your being. You see what I mean?
Awesome.
Everyone has that ability.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Maybe, Teri, do we have anybody who had their hands raised? I know there were a lot of people. I feel kind of like we're not being mindful. And I feel like I'm hoarding Margaret, and I love Margaret. Thank you so much for being with us, Margaret. Yes. I feel so. I have never felt so calm right now. I just feel so. And everything's been so chaotic, and I just laid down and I just listened to you, and I was like, oh yes, thank you, Margaret.
Yes, thank you, Margaret. And I want to be respectful of your time and of Gerry's time. Can we take a couple of calls? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely.
Okay, we have a caller who's been on here since before I got on here. So we're going to take that call, and bless you for your patience, and thank you to all of those who are in the queue. This is from area code 608, and you're on the air.
Hello, thank you. This is Jill.
Hello, Jill. Hi, Jill. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How might I help you tonight?
Okay, you were kind of covering it just a few minutes ago, but I was born with psychic abilities and mediumship and healing abilities, and if I can access those, I'm just amazing. And I have memories from the time I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
What is blocking me from actually doing something with them and using them, and if I have these gifts, I should be using them.
Well,
I'm really blocked.
Right. The thing that is blocking you is when you grow up and you have these abilities, not everyone who has these abilities is met with comments of, oh, that's wonderful, that's the most incredible thing, you should use these, let me tell everybody in the neighborhood about you, let me sing your praises. It is not the kind of thing that normally one finds that that occurs. More frequently, when one has psychic abilities, when you are open to other methods of communication, what will happen is you are usually told by people, don't let that get around. People will make fun of you. They will perhaps not, treat you in the right way. So people who love you very often will become very protective of you and not want to let it be known that you have this ability. And so what occurs is that a lot of people who have psychic abilities, either through their own hearing of their own people in their own families or friends saying, you know what, I don't either A, believe this is happening, or B, if it's happening, you shouldn't talk about it, it will dissuade you from wanting to go public. Even as Gerry mentioned in the beginning of his talking, it took him a very long time, almost, if you think about it, from 1990 to 2010. We are looking at almost 20 years of doing this, and at the same time, still being afraid that somehow someone would ridicule him, would perhaps even on a worst-case scenario cause him to lose his security. So all of these things come along, and they cause one to not feel confident to go out there and be who you really are. The other thing that causes it is it's one thing if you're doing it for yourself, but there is this other feeling that if you're doing it for someone else, what if you're wrong? What if
Correct.
You're getting information and it's not the right information, and now you are saying something that's not right? And that's a very common feeling. And the quickest way to be able to deal with that is to recognize that you are not responsible for the interpretation. And the second aspect of it is do not predict the future. There is no way to accurately predict the future. The future is being created by every decision that person makes that you are speaking to, and they could walk out the door and make a decision that will totally change the trajectory of their future. But many people who do psychic readings are very willing to make future predictions and to tell people things about their lives that are not really helpful to them, because now a person will make decisions, again, based on expert advice, as opposed to making decisions based on the expert within them. So it is far more powerful, dear one, if you are doing something of a psychic nature, to help people not to tell them what their future is going to be, but to help them to know how they can create the future that they desire to have in their life. You know, not to take that action upon yourself to give someone a thought as to the future that you think they should have, or that you feel that they are going to have. And that's something that is not. It is unfortunately sometimes a misunderstood thing when people are talking about future. It's so much more important to help someone to be empowered to create a future that would make them joyful than to tell them about the future they're going to have. If you don't do that, and you just work on helping people to learn how to move about the energy that is going on within them, then you will have a very, very easy time moving forward doing readings for people, because it will take away all of the worry. You know, if you empower someone to give them the information they need to move forward, now the torch is passed. What you are saying is not your responsibility now, and it shouldn't be. You are giving them the advice that will help them. So often I will recommend to people who read cards, for example, that it is a really good idea to do a 3-card spread, and the first card representing your current state of energy. What is going on currently within your life? What is that energetic state representing? The second card is the energy that you would like to have in your life. What is the ultimate energy that you would like to have? What is the ultimate situation in your life that you would like to create? And the third card is, what do you need to do to get from the first card to the second card? If you do that type of reading for people, you will be amazing. And if you even use that just as a vehicle to just talk to people and read their energy in other ways, however you find the way to do that, however you find the way to take them from where they are to where they want to be, and discover what they can do in the middle to change that and help that to happen, now you can, with great open heart and total certainty, you can send them on their way with that information. because now you have left everything in their hands. You have given them hope. You have given them ideas. You have given them direction. And is that any different than what your mother would do with you that you wouldn't listen to or you would listen to? At that point in time, it is totally up to that individual to live and control their life. And you have loved them enough to help to guide them on a path that would bring them to what they want, not what you are thinking is down the road for them. Does that make sense, Joanne?
Yes, it totally makes sense.
And that allows you...
It's like a relief, like I'm not responsible. Do
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
Totally. And that's
Yes.
why I am saying it should not be your responsibility, nor should you take that responsibility. Because you have no way. People will often ask that question of me. They will say, Margaret, am I going to meet someone? Is there someone coming into my life that I will be able to have a wonderful relationship with? I cannot answer that question. What I can say is, this is what your current state of situation is that is blocking you from meeting a person. What is the person you would most like to manifest in your life? Because if that's what you want to manifest, this is the energy that needs to change to do that. And in fact, if you're vibrating at this current frequency, you're not going to meet that person because the person you want is at a different frequency. So we need to do things to lift your frequency. We need to do things that allow you to love yourself more so that you can be at that level of frequency to attract someone into your life that you will be able to love, you know?
Yeah, I feel a lot lighter with your information.
I'm glad. I'm so glad. And if there's anyone else who's listening to the show who is a reader or a psychic or doing work in other directions, this will help you as well. Just go of the responsibility of feeling as though you are directing somebody's life as to what they're going to do by telling them the information you're getting. Stop telling them that information. Because what you're getting is a snapshot of energy based on what you are reading at that current moment. It is as though you are seeing one possible storyline that will happen if you're projecting their energy at this moment into the future. And if this moment into the future is not something that they are experiencing at this very moment, ultimate joy in their life, why on earth would one want to predict that future for them? The thing that you want to do is help them to come to that point of ultimate joy. So that's where you want to bring them. And then at that point, you can be so happy with everything you are doing, and you can feel happy about charging for that as well, because now the advice that you're giving to them is life-changing. That is what you want to do. You want to offer advice and guidance that is life-changing in a positive, joyful, incredible manner, not life-changing because you're getting someone to think about their life in a different direction and now being so fearful. So I thank you so much for that question. It was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question.
And thank you so much because I feel so much lighter.
Thank you, Jill, for calling in. That was a beautiful question.
Thank you.
Your beautiful light.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good night, Gerry.
Thank you so much, Jill. Thank you. And I can just feel your spirit so much lighter. Thank you so much for calling in and for listening. Yes, blessings
we'll all be
to
giggling
you.
tonight, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was wonderful. And I just want to say something to our listeners. And this happens with every show that I do where there's messages that are being given. Spirit works it out so that, you are here. The people that are meant to hear the messages are here listening. And the messages that are given, like one person that asked a question, that answer that's revealed to them, it's for all of us. It's not just for one person. We are all part of the oneness. And in that, we're all being blessed by the answer that comes through to these questions. There's no coincidences that you're here on the line with us, and thank you so much for being here. Margaret, do you have time for one more?
Absolutely, and I agree with what you said.
Okay.
I often will say that when I'm speaking to callers on the radio show, that I thank them so much for the question, because they have no idea the number of people listening to the program who themselves could not get to that point of asking that question on the radio, but who listen to that question and say, oh, my God, that
was my answer.
Asking that question, or that was my answer, or somehow I realized that the question I was about to ask. So many times we have callers who will say, I'll answer their call, and they'll say, you know what, I had a completely different question to ask, but I realized the last caller was really what my question was. And I don't know why I was going to ask this other question, but it really wasn't that. I don't know if maybe I was just afraid to ask that question. So, I thank you for recognizing that.
Yes, I encounter that so much on my shows. So thank you, Margaret, for clarifying that. And we're going to go to our next caller before we run out of time. And this is area code 613. And you're on the air.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
You're so welcome. How might I help you?
I just have a question. How do I create a loving romantic relationship with a man named Chris, and also create a living for myself where I'm actually making some money to take care of myself?
Okay. May I ask your first name? I didn't catch it. Donna? Donna, there is, in both of your questions, in both the question relative to Chris and the question relative to abundance, the answer falls within the same energy. And the energy is that of creating a higher level of vibration for yourself that would allow you to create a strong relationship with someone, and that would allow you to feel as though you have a sense of worth that is greater, so that you feel as though you can attract these things to yourself. And that's one of the problematic areas that you're going through, is that sometimes in relationships we look at situations and we see that someone is not attracted to us, or maybe they're not acting attracted to us, or they're seemingly attracted to someone else. And the response that you might have is, well, what about me? What's wrong with me? Why not me? Why is it that I am not deserving of this particular thing? And that energy of feeling less than, is an energy that actually, Donna, was produced very early on when you were very young, when you felt that same energy, and when you actually went through some very primary situations of soul loss. When one loses part of their soul energy, what happens is that you encounter what I refer to as traumatic situations, which are actually situations when you feel in that given state of time totally powerless to be able to respond to that given situation. And there's nothing you can change. That's the reason why. So, for example, dear one, just to use an example, if someone finds out at their very young age of 3 or 4 or 5 that their mom and dad are divorcing, they can't do anything to change that situation, but they feel and are affected by the energy of betrayal and abandonment that just barrel their way into their energetic system, pushing out their own soul energy. And as this takes place, that energy of betrayal and abandonment, although the brain is so brilliant at converting energy to something you can use, that energy of betrayal and abandonment or shame or neglect or being made to feel less than, those energies, that core energy stays within you and becomes a part of your energetic system, meaning that you find yourself re-attracting people into your life that keep on causing you to feel the same way, or re-attracting employment into your life, which is just always not enough, always less than you need. And so as you see yourself, and I'm sure, Donna, you can see as I'm saying this, there's probably a part of you that's even thinking, I can see where at different points in my life this is repeating itself, you know? It will repeat itself when you are in grade school. It will repeat yourself when you're in middle school. It will repeat yourself in high school, where there's always some feeling of not being enough, not being smart enough, not being cheerleader enough, not being this enough or that enough. So that what winds up happening is, as each of these experiences occur, they create another opportunity for soul loss. And then as one goes into adulthood, you are creating this same experience. And I don't mean creating as meaning that you are creating it and making it happen. It's just that like energy attracts like energy. So even though you might be doing all of these phenomenal things to try to help yourself, you're still bringing the same energy back unconsciously, which is causing you to repeat the same circumstances. So I do want to make a recommendation to you, and if you do have a pencil and paper handy, there is a page on Gerry's website that I would like to refer you to. It is gerrygavin.com/soul, SOUL, -exercises, with an S, exercises. And on there you're going to find 3 exercises that are all guided meditations. One is a guided grounding exercise to help you get grounded with the earth so you can start to bring more energy up from the earth. And the second 2 are tapping exercises that are what Gerry refers to as shamanic tapping, because there's drumming in the background that helps to somewhat alter your brain waves to help you to move from a theta to an alpha state that is more receptive. And that will help you to release other people's soul energy that you are holding on to within your body, and to bring up into you some soul energy that is in your energetic field, but not your energetic body. And there's also then, when you are on that page, go to the tab that speaks about soul retrieval and see if that vibrates with you. Because, Donna, I think if you read it, it will. And I think you may come to realize that part of why you're repeating these patterns is because there is a big piece of you that is missing. There is a big piece of you that you've lost over the time, and that can be returned to you and can be restored within you so that you can feel more powerful. And seriously, dear one, I am not saying anything against Chris in any way, shape, or form, but you might find that when your soul energy is back within you and you are vibrating at a higher frequency, you may actually be setting your sights a little higher. You may actually be finding that you're setting your sights for people who do respond to and answer your needs, who do feel that same way towards you as you feel towards them, and who desire to be able to lift your soul up to be everything it might possibly be, as much as you desire to lift their soul up to be everything it might possibly be. I hope this makes sense, and I hope that in no way anything that I've said is discouraging to you, because everything I'm telling you, honestly, doing is very, very positive, because what we're kind of offering you in this is tools to be able to bring your energy to a place that you won't find yourself honestly having to ask this question again because you won't be experiencing this again. Does that help, Donna?
It does. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And if when you do these exercises, or if there's anything that comes up that is any question that you have, please don't hesitate to email Gerry. He's really good about trying to help when people are trying to ascertain and understand and they just have extra questions. So it's just Gerry at GerryGavin.com, and he will respond to you. Okay? It may take him a tiny bit of time, but he will respond to you.
Thank you. I appreciate
you
that.
Thank
you
so
so
welcome.
Much.
Good night, dear one.
Good night.
Good night, Donna. Thank you so much for listening, and we appreciate all of our listeners who have been on here. I believe that we lost Karen's call, Gerry, and maybe she'll call back in. But we are at the end of the show, and I just want to take time to thank you so much for being here with us tonight and for those wonderful words from Margaret. Margaret, thank you so, so very much. You've helped me
so
tremendously.
Welcome. You are so welcome.
Yes, you've helped me so much.
I'd love to let Gerry come back so he can say goodnight to you as well. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight and sharing these messages. It was wonderful to be here.
Thank you, Margaret. I just want to say I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I love you as well. Good night, dear one. I will bring Gerry back.
Okay.
Hey, Teri, how are you?
Hi, Gerry. Thank you so very much for this blessing that we have had tonight with you. It was just amazing.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. And it's always a pleasure to bring Margaret through. It's so exciting because I'm here. I'm hearing everything, and just to hear the things that she says and the way they touch people's hearts, it just is it's such a wonderful thing to be able to be a part of. So thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely. And if you would, Gerry, one more time, just tell everybody your website and how to reach out to you.
Sure. So the website is GerryGavin.com. It's GerryGavin.com. And you can find out everything on there about readings and soul retrieval and events. And actually, just one thing, if I could just tell you guys about, we just started a kind of an amazing thing that just started in the last week. And we're doing a tour throughout 2017, and it's something that Margaret kind of inspired, and it is called the Living Room Tour, where we're going to be traveling all over the country throughout the United States and Canada and actually doing very small one-day workshops for no more than 20 people in people's living rooms, dining rooms, family rooms, however it might be, where rather than going to bigger halls, we're kind of doing these much smaller venues throughout the country, and I'm really excited about it. We just announced tonight we're going to be doing our first one in the LA area in Riverside on February 18th, and I think we're going to be in San Diego on the 19th and going into Texas in March, and then Miami and New York and all different places. So please check the event page on the website. You know, we would love if you might be able to host us in your town, and we're just so excited about doing this. I'm so stoked about it. It's going to be such an amazing experience, I think, for everyone.
Absolutely. So. Oh, my gosh. And you're coming close to me. Miami is probably about half an hour to 45 minutes from me, but I would love for you to come to Fort Lauderdale as well. So I would definitely be keeping... Yes, I mean, you're going to be right here, so, you know, we will talk about all of that.
We will definitely talk about that, because what I would love to do is, in any of those situations where we have an option to maybe do Miami one day and Fort Lauderdale the next or something like that, we would love it. So definitely we should talk, and maybe we'll have that opportunity to get to meet you and your friends, and that would be really cool.
Yes, it would be, Gerry. Thank you so much, and hopefully in the future you will be back with us again here on Blog Talk, Angel Speakers.
I would
love that.
I would love it.
And we will talk to Karen and collaborate on that. And I just so appreciate you. Thank you so very much. And to
You're
our listeners,
very welcome. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. I want to tell our listeners tomorrow night I'll be back at 10:30 on Angel Speakers Blog Talk Radio. Thank you all for being with me tonight. And I send blessings of love and light to all of you. Good night, everyone. Good night, Gerry. And good night, Margaret.
Good night. Thank you so much. Good night.
There is more to me, Queen Eliara of Elfgard, than my elven magic. Just as there's more to Geico than saving you money, Geico also gives you 24/7 access to licensed agents online, on the phone, or on the Geico app. And while I am a mighty elf queen, I am also a mighty big fan of barbecue potato chips. Minions! More smoky mesquite.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Your time to get health insurance is running out, but Ambetter from Sunshine Health has you covered.
The last day to sign up for a health insurance plan is January 31st, so you need to sign up for Ambetter from Sunshine Health today.
Ambetter from Sunshine Health offers better coverage at a better price. Sign up now.
Call 1-844-FL-BETTER today. That's 1-844-FL-BETTER.
Ambetter from Sunshine Health is insured by Celtic Insurance Company. This is a solicitation for insurance.